Our parts fall between the normal one. You've got the neuroptics for normal Banshee here, the systems for normal Banshee here, and the prime ones in between. Thankfully though, doesn't really cost that much. Her systems is from the Axie B1 relic, and apart from 300 Oxium, the 2 Argon crystals can be a bit of a pain. Control modules, ferrite, they're fairly easy to get a hold of. The neuroptics are from the Meso S4 relic, and 2 neural sensors, 2 nitin extract. The nitin extract can be a bit of a pain, but luckily it only needs 2. Unlike other primes that have needed 5 per part. Let's not mention Vauban that often. And then there's the chassis that it drops from the Neo B1 relic and requires 1500 cryotic. The rest of it seems fairly easy. The Morphics probably a little bit harder to get a hold of, but 1500 cryotic once upon a time used to be a pain, but now I know a little bit better, so it's not actually that hard because you can do the easier missions and still get just as much. Salvage and Rabido, of course, being fairly easy. And then 5 Orokin cells to combine it all into her blueprint for 3 days of a build with 12 hours per part. It is kind of overly easy, especially since the blueprint itself is from a Neo T1, and it's actually the common drop from that. So here's the thing, normal Banshee has a sprint speed of 1.1, Banshee Prime has a sprint speed of 1.15. That is another Prime who's had a speed increase on their Prime variant, but they're not over the normal one. Yeah, I'm not going there. But the big difference between normal Banshee here, wearing the deluxe thing, and the Banshee Prime is 25 extra power, which actually works out pretty well, and 50 extra armor. Not a total of 50, an extra 15, meaning that Banshee Prime here is actually, hopefully, a fairly strong frame, but unfortunately, like a lot of, well, almost every single frame, the Exilis mod slot is locked. I'm going to leave it locked this time. I usually unlock those pretty much straight away. Was actually looking for what Sandana to put on her, and to be fair, I think I'm just going to leave her for now, because turns out the sigil actually doesn't ruin the looks of her too badly. The only thing that I wish there was an option to take off, because if anybody's noticed lately, I did this weird thing. This is the reason I was actually using this colour Frost, because I thought it was a glitch that I managed to come across, but he's supposed to have these chunks on the shoulders, but you can actually take them off. I'm a bit late on this because Operation Pacifism Defect has come out and there was an update, and then I had hard drive failure. At the moment, I am crossing my fingers I can recover everything you have seen up to this point from the failing hard drive. Otherwise, I've got some major problems, but that aside, I actually took Banshee Prime into the Pacifism Defect and found her to be quite useful for a very short period of time because I didn't have a decent build on her, and if I'm honest, I took her off and put Ember on. That's just personal choice. Weirdly, Ember has less survivability, even Ember Prime has less survivability than Banshee Prime does, which I thought was quite weird. I still love Sonic Boom, the way it kind of pushes the enemies over and while they're on the floor opens them to the ground finishers, not a normal finisher. I still love the way that Sonar, it shows the enemy's weak spots or the critical weak spots, but it shows them to everybody in the squad. This isn't just for you, this is everybody gets to see it, and it makes them appear on the minimap. This is where range for her could come in really useful. Silence is a weird one I've never really understood. I basically just use this thing so when I run up to an enemy and I have silence on, it stuns them for a second or two and they're not shooting at you, so you can shoot at them. I have absolutely no idea if it does anything other than this, but the fact that it can stun them is great. I always thought Silence, once upon a time, worked towards making her silent. It doesn't make her silent. It's a very weird, like, aura thing that stuns enemies within range, which is just insanely useful. Just because it stuns them, it's really useful. Defense missions, other missions. Silence is also insanely useful for the way that it stuns enemies around you. It's like an aura that stuns enemies around you. And I just can't say it enough, it's really useful because it stuns them for a second or two, which with high level enemies can stop them shooting at you just long enough for you to try and take them out, or maybe run up to them and knock them over with Sonic Boom. All of these abilities are really, really useful, and Soundquake depends on if you've set her up for range, duration, efficiency. I think the main reason that I personally think she survives better is I still run this build for Resonating Quake, which is an augment that increases the damage by 100 and the range by 1 meter the longer you have it running, but does cost more power the longer you have it running. And I keep coming in two minds whether I want to leave Fleeting Expertise on here or put Primed Flow in here instead. So I'm still kind of working on this, but in the meantime I just tend to run around with this build on, and she is way more survivable than she is with this, because this doesn't have health and shields, is based more on damage, and this is based more on survivability. So this is what I run around with her on normally when I just throw it on and jump into a mission. Higher level stuff, I'll swap to this, but as I say, because I'm still playing with it, wouldn't really advise either of these, because she still survives much better than the normal one anyway. I was vastly impressed on how well I actually liked Banshee Prime over normal Banshee. I knew I was going to like her more. I didn't think I was going to like her this much, which has got me kind of torn, because when it comes to certain missions I prefer my Ember Prime, because she's built kind of similar, if I'm honest, to the build, the Configuration B, the damage build, where I have no health and shields, but she does have a lot more armor. I just think that she dies in that configuration more than Banshee Prime does with similar kind of thing on, which is weird because she's got nearly twice the armor than Banshee Prime has. It just comes down to personal choice. If you prefer Banshee over any other frame, this was pretty huge. Even if you use Banshee, sometimes it's still pretty huge, because that extra 50 armor does mean she can take a lot more damage. Not a little bit more, a lot more damage. And I've said it before, the pro Banshee players must be over the moon, because just that one increase to the armor means so much to Banshee. It is huge, like just massive. Anyway, we'll leave this off here for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.